Hey, greetings everyone. Lieutenant Colonel retired Alan West, the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas. Why are we here today? We want to talk about some of the concerns, some of the insights, perspectives we have on this 87th legislative session. We're in the final month, and we know we got about 2, maybe 3 weeks before everything is pretty much shut down because we have to abide by the 140-day rule. Came out and talked about back in November was I did not support having Democrats as chairman of some of these committees we have, especially in the House. The chairman of the Public Education Committee is a Democrat by the name of Representative Dutton. And what SB 29 would have done, it passed in the Senate, SB 29 would have prevented gender dysphoric males from competing on competition fields, sports fields, with females. Title IX is very important. I think a lot of feminist organizations, I think a lot of women here supported Title IX. I have 2 daughters who play sports in high school. And I want to make sure that we continue to allow those opportunities to our young women to be able to compete fairly against other young women and so that they can qualify for scholarships. I hope that SB 29, someone will come around and reintroduce that in the House so they can be voted out of committee. We have many bills, and later on Joe Glover will talk about this, but many of our bills relating to our legislative priorities have been held up in the State Affairs Committee by Representative Chris Paddock. We would like to see him pass those bills out of the committee and stop with this bottleneck. The last thing I want to bring up is I'm not one of those people that agree with creating new government agencies. And right now it seems that there's a $5.5 million new government agency called the Office of Health Equity. It is not the government's business to get into equity or equality. Texas and the United States of America is based upon equality of opportunity, not equality of outcomes. And I'm very fearful when we use the language of the progressive socialist left, what equity can come out to mean when it comes to our health care. So those are the points that I want to bring out, and I will turn it over to the senior representative that is here right now, and that is Representative Tenderholt.
Thank you guys for being here, and thank you, sir, for coming. That bill that he just talked about, the terminology tells you that it's a Marxist-type bill. They use the term equity in it, and you should be very concerned. It passed on 2nd reading yesterday, passed on 3rd reading today. I had an amendment to it to define the term gender, and so what the author did was remove the term gender and replaced it with women's health. We can call that a little bit of a victory, but that bill should have died. We're a supermajority Republican held House, and we should have killed that bill, and it passed. The priorities, some of those priorities are not moving, and I would ask you to contact your state reps and senators and push them and push the chairmen and chairwomen on the priorities that are not passing. I'll tell you some good things just happened within the last hour and a half or 2 in Texas. We did not get the abolition bill, but we did get the heartbeat bill. It passed today on 2nd reading. It'll go to 3rd reading tomorrow, and I believe in September timeframe, if the governor signs it before then, we will no longer have people murdering unborn children at the time that they can detect a heartbeat. Another huge priority that's going to be heard, I believe, tomorrow is election integrity, and it's huge. I'm not sure how many amendments we're going to see on that bill, but from the looks of what I've seen of both the Senate and the House version, they're both very good products. I'm excited to see which one comes, and it'll determine what kind of amendments we do to that bill. I think that we're going to see a really good product. I think also in the next 24 hours, we're going to see riots across the state where people are blocking highways, harming human beings, and destroying businesses. That'll be outlawed, and people will be punished for doing those things and ruining businesses and ruining livelihoods. I think the camping ban is going to probably be passed today or tomorrow. But the big problem is that we still have Republican priorities that are not moving in the House. We're trying our darndest in the House to do it, but we really count on what I call the lowest level of local control, and that's you. And that's the voters that are going to watch this video and watching online. Call your representatives, call the chairman, call the chairwomen, push them to get the Republican priorities passed, because we're in the House. My colleague here and I, we're ready to pass them. We're ready to vote yes on every single Republican priority that's laid in front of me. You won't see a white vote, which is present not voting, and you won't see a no vote from me on anything that even comes remotely close to a Republican Party priority in the state of Texas. Thank you guys for being here, and I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Representative Brian Slayton.
It is great to be here with all of you today. And one touch-up thing we also have coming up in a little bit is the trigger bill. Certain things would happen and we could end abortion in Texas. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. Republicans can hold the line and do the right thing on that bill. What I wanted to talk with you about is, I guess, probably a subject that I've probably been introduced to most of you by, is my amendments. And let me start with this. Everyone, you must believe in accountability. You have it all your life. As a child, you have accountability when your parents have been gone and you were supposed to clean the house. When that garage door opens, accountability begins. Whenever you're at work and your supervisor or boss has been off on vacation or conference, when they come home, the accountability begins. And when we get to sine die, the accountability begins on the Republicans in Texas that are elected to serve in this building. We've had control for almost 20 years, and it's a shame it takes us this long to do things. We have an issue, the gender modification of children. We have an issue that should not be an issue in Texas, but unfortunately it is. And one thing I've been mentioning to my colleagues and others is in 1993, when Democrats controlled this building, they banned electroshock therapy on children. Electroshock was invented as a torture. The Russians created it to torture their bad citizens that just didn't quite get communism. Psychotherapy picked that up and began using it as a therapy on adults and children. In 1993, the Democrats saw how horrible that was to do electroshock therapy on children, and they banned that on children 16 and under. And they deserve credit for that. And as electroshock therapy went away, and now it's been making a resurgence, it's not making a big splash in Texas because they stood up for children in 1993. So here we are today in 2021, and Republicans control every branch of this Capitol in the executive office. And if when we sine die, if children are still able to go through a permanent and barbaric practice of gender modification, shame on every one of us, including me. If we don't pass this bill to protect children, I hope I'm voted out of office. Just start over with brand new Republicans as far as I'm concerned. I'm not here to go after any one person. If we can't stand up for children, what are we good for? I just want to ask you all to continue to fight, continue to call, continue to, unfortunately, beg for people to do things that in their heart they know they wouldn't want happen to their own child or grandchild. Thank you all for being here, and we have no choice but to stop this practice in Texas. And I'm proud to have all of you joining us. And I want to say special thanks to Jeff Younger, who is an amazing dad. His fight he's put up for his son is for the record books. And I respect him so much for what he's done to get us here to this point where we actually may ban this practice, but it wouldn't happen if he didn't take a stand for his child. So y'all all thank him for having the guts and just the godly love for his son that he has. Thank y'all very much.
When I became the chairman of the Republican Party of Texas, one of the things I had to look at was who would head up our Legislative Priorities Committee. And I could not be more thankful for the efforts and tireless hard work of Jill Glover and what she has done in bringing our 8 legislative priorities to the people so that we have this type of support and and this type of demand for this Republican-controlled House and Senate to do what is right for our grassroots conservative Republicans. I'd like to introduce our Legislative Priorities Committee Chairwoman, Jill Glover.
When we started this session, we knew that we had to do something different in order to get our priorities passed. As has already been mentioned, the Republicans have had the majority for many years, and we today finally on the House floor have the heartbeat bill that has passed out, and we are grateful and thankful. But we would not have done it without our grassroots and without our voters, because when we started this session, we said what we must do different this time is we must take our case to the people. And the people, the constituents who live in the districts of our representatives, they're the ones whose voices matter. So my committee on the SREC and our other SRECs have been traveling the state. We have been speaking to everyone who will listen to us about what our priorities are and how to engage with your representative or your senator. And I am so pleased and thrilled to say that our efforts have paid off. I believe that we would not be where we are with the heartbeat bill, with election integrity, with constitutional carry, which is being debated right now in the Senate, and we are thrilled with that. But that would not have happened without our grassroots. We must continue with banning gender modification and with taxpayer-funded lobbying and even with school choice and monuments. Those are still stuck in the process, and I do want to mention banning taxpayer-funded lobbying seems to be stuck in our State Affairs Committee, and we urge Representative Patty to please vote that out so that we can get it in calendars and get it scheduled for a floor vote. We also desperately need to have House Bill 1399, which is Representative Krause's bill on banning gender modification. We need to have that scheduled in the House Calendars Committee. It has been in the House calendars for a week now, and so we ask that be scheduled for a floor vote. You know, the Republican Party is all about principles, and one of our principles is about truth. And in our society right now, there are a lot of lies going around. And one is that a little boy can become a little girl, and that just can't happen. And we must protect our kids from these damaging surgeries and medical treatments to perpetuate a lie. We cannot continue to do that as a society and function. So we are thankful for what we have done so far. We must have the grassroots continue the efforts that they have already put out, and we thank you to all of the groups, but please keep calling your representative and your senator to get these other priorities passed. Thank you all so much.
You're late.
Push up. Push up.
I said after, yeah, right. Okay, what are your questions?
How helpful has the governor been right now in pushing these priorities to the finish line?
I think the great thing when you saw the governor come out and say that if these bills can get through the legislature, he'll sign it, like constitutional carry. I think this is the first time ever that we have had constitutional carry passed in the House, and it's over in the Senate. And so now, a couple of weeks ago, the lieutenant governor said it didn't have a chance, and he didn't have the votes. Well, guess what? They're debating it, and the governor's already said that he is willing to sign it. So I think that they're hearing the voices of the people. You see the gun owners of America, people that are here, so they're letting folks know that the only permit that you need to have in the United States of America to carry a firearm is right here, and that's in the Constitution. Yes, sir.
Chairman West, I'm Hayden Sparks with the Texan. What would you say to conservatives who hear all of this about legislation that's making progress but worry that it could be stricken by the courts even after it is signed by the governor? Is the Republican Party preparing to fight these battles in court as well as at the Capitol?
Well, absolutely so, and I think that one of the things we've got to get the right balance is to not have activist judges and not have people bring these frivolous lawsuits, because either we stand by the rule of law or we don't. We cannot be ruled over by these people in the black robes. So that's the key thing. I mean, when you pass something by the duly elected representatives of the people, how is it that anyone can go to a court and say, we don't want to have into law the things that legislators have actually went through, debated on, got it passed through, got it signed by the executive. Last thing I know, that's civics. Okay? I remember Schoolhouse Rock. Schoolhouse Rock didn't say anything about the judicial branch coming in and changing law.
If Governor Abbott was challenged in a primary, would you support him?
Well, I'm not here to talk about 2022 races. I'm here to talk about what is the most important pressing issue for us right now. That's the legislative priorities that the Grassroots Republicans of the Republican Party of Texas brought forward. And I want to say also to the Grassroots Republicans, what a great Saturday you had in the municipal level elections. Winning the city council seats, winning the school board seats. And I want to send a shout out to a young man, 19 years of age, Roman Garcia, who may just be the youngest city council member in the state of Texas.
Which of the election bills do you expect to see go forward? Both of them?
I would hope both of them would go forward, because what we cannot allow to happen is the codification into law, the unconstitutional actions that you saw in the November 2020 election, which are part of what H.R. 1 does. The federal government does not have the enumerated power to dictate to states how they do elections. So H.R. 1, when it talks about no voter ID, when it talks about no review of voter registration rolls, same-day voter registration, same-day voting, we need to have strong election laws at our states to make sure that we are restoring integrity back into our electoral process. Because voter fraud is voter suppression.
Jordan Monken with CBS Austin.
I know, but you asked a question, you still haven't done push-ups.
Most law enforcement officials in major cities.
Now you're up to 20, because you asked me a question.
I'll have one more.
You're up to 30.
Most of the law enforcement officials in major cities, where most of the crime is at, have opposed permitless carry. Why is it that we continue to push it?
I think most of the law enforcement officers from these major cities where you see an increase of crime should be worried about where there's an increase of crime, instead of telling a legal law-abiding citizen they cannot protect themselves.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Name and protection.
Okay. Going once? Going twice?
Can I ask about the heartbeat bill?
You're up to 30 push-ups now.
Can I just send them to you on a video later?
No. You got witnesses.
This is from a colleague. GOP leaders in support of SB 8 have used the term heartbeat to trigger the need to use and outlaw abortions as early as 6 weeks, when medical professionals who actually perform abortions say that it's not specifically accurate. Why would the GOP support the legislation if medical leaders argue differently and oppose the limitations that this bill would put on their patients?
I just found out today that my youngest daughter is going to be induced into labor next Saturday. If we cannot stand up and protect the most innocent thing, that's life in the mother's womb, then what good are we? I am sick and tired of seeing commercials that always tell me I need to send money in to protect puppies, but we can't protect babies. I'm done with this. How many people would like to see a member of the media do 30 push-ups?
Can I respectfully decline?
Okay, I tell you what, you want me to do it with you?
Oh, wow.
Respect. I decline.
Oh, no,
the offer. I wouldn't.
Oh, really?
I am 31.
I'm going to do it for you. Don't ever come late to another one of mine.